Anything you miss, you can come back and take a look at it again on the Lumesse Learning website. We hope you'll use the hashtag CourseBuilder8 to share the insights you glean with your network. So now I'm going to hand over the screen to Sven, who is going to take you through all the new features of the tool. Hello, Sven.
Hi. How are you, John?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. Bit of snow here today.
The switch. Yes, busy. Can you see my screen now? Just checking that everything is okay.
Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah, welcome to this introduction to the new CourseBuilder version, CourseBuilder 8. And as John said, my name is Sven Sjøløst, heading up the CourseBuilder product. We're going to go through some of CourseBuilder 8. And from a development perspective, the main topics, the main areas for CourseBuilder 8 has been mobile responsive support. In addition, extending the search functionalities in CourseBuilder to allow you to easily search content. And we'll have a look at how these elements works. Responsive design is all about creating pages or content that responds to the visitor's screen size and orientation and change themselves appropriately. So responsive content is content that adapts itself to your device. With CourseBuilder 8, building responsive content is quite straightforward. The content you created on your desktop, it scales beautifully to all tablets with no effort at all. Very, very simple. For phone views, for phone devices, you can change layout, styling, text, skins, etc. can be different. So you can have truly adaptive content that changes when it's presented on, for instance, a phone. You can do stuff like images, text can be hidden in certain views to reduce the amount of content on the screen. It's very easy to work with using the CourseBuilder 8 editor system. This completes the CourseBuilder 1 course concept. The CourseBuilder 1 course concept is all about creating one version of your content containing all of the languages, all of the device versions, everything published once to your learning management system. Everyone goes through the same course. Everyone is registered as having completed the same course, making it much easier for you to manage and administrate learners and learning content. Key new features in CourseBuilder 8 is, of course, based around responsive. One of the new features is you can now create responsive adaptive skins using the CourseBuilder skin editor. You can change layout, you can change functionalities. The skin can look very different on different devices. An example is shown below, where you can see the complete the layout and also some functionalities in the skin are different on the desktop and on the phone. You can of course create responsive pages where page layout, styling automatically adjusts to the various device sizes that your user when going through the content. Another key feature in CourseBuilder 8 is the ability to edit content dynamically across all of the device modes. So you can very easily switch between the various view. You can be working with your desktop, quickly switch to the phone to see how will this look, adjust things, etc. So you will be working dynamically with the various device modes. For the phone portrait mode, we've also enabled what we call auto layout. It's basically a one-click one-click option that allows CourseBuilder to relay out all of the content on a page into an appropriate format to be displayed on a phone. Another big new feature in CourseBuilder is the ability to create scrollable pages. You can use scrollable pages both on desktop versions, on tablets, on phones, and very easy for you as an author to handle. To support responsive design, we've added a host of new layout functionalities. Relative positioning, you can now align content left, right, top, bottom, completely independent of the page size. So there are responsive functionalities connected to layout and alignment, and you can now set size of elements in percent to allow automatic scaling depending on screen size. You can also use pixels or auto, and we can get back to that. Another big new feature in CourseBuilder, as authors, you may already have tried this. As an author, you can free text search for any text or page title or folder name in a course and go there with a mouse click. The same functionality is now available for your users. You can add a search field in your skin, allowing the user to free text search for any content inside a course and go there basically with a single tap or a single mouse click. It's a dynamic search as you type search functionality. So you start typing, the CourseBuilder will automatically build a list of content inside your course that matches your search query. So very powerful feature, and especially for phones. I can see a great need for people to be able to repeat content, to easily find content inside a course, and instead of having to try to remember where in the 30-minute course they were talking about handling objections, you can now do a very quick search, go directly to the page, and very easily repeat the content. So let's go to CourseBuilder itself and have a quick demonstration of these new functionalities. The CourseBuilder editor looks very much like any CourseBuilder author is used to, and there are some new features that you'll see rather quickly. For instance, you now have view modes. You can enable different view modes depending on what you want to design specifically for. And the same view modes are now available when you're editing pages, when you are previewing, and when the end user goes through your course on his device, whether that is on a tablet, on a phone, or on the desktop. But let's have a very quick look at what a responsive course can look like. This is a very simple course using some of the standard CourseBuilder mechanisms. You can, of course, build branching scenarios. You can do everything that you're used to with CourseBuilder 7 can be done in CourseBuilder 8 as well. And so you have the full flexibility and power of the CourseBuilder tool. I'm going to go through a few pages just to show you how the desktop version looks. So this is the desktop version with the skin. This will look the same on a tablet. And I'm using various steps to build a nice flowing presentation where I add content over time. And a second page, this is a typical reveal type of page where you have icons, click on an icon, you reveal content, and simply works like this. So typical things that you would include on pages in a CourseBuilder course. One of the new features that you can use in CourseBuilder 8 is scrolling pages. You can now easily create scrolling pages of any length where you can add content. In this case, the skin has been set so that the bottom bar here with the navigation buttons follows the scroll, meaning that the user has to scroll down to the bottom before he moves on. An easy way of checking or ensuring that the user is aware of the navigation possibilities. So that can be one way of doing it. We could have that bottom bar permanently here and have the scroll behind it. So you can elect how you want your skin to work. Again, exercises work the way that you're used to, answer feedback, etc. Then we have a small quiz, exercise 1. Answer, again, go to the next page, answer, you get a feedback, and you have a summary page. So typical scenarios that you will create when you create learning content. Then we have the new features. So I can use the search functionality and search for phone, and you can see it immediately provides me with the search results. One click and I go directly to that page. So very, very powerful search mechanism is built into it. Also wanted to show you how the menu works here. Here in the desktop view, you have a menu that appears when I mouse over the menu or tap it for that matter. We'll have a look at how all of this looks on a phone. So I'll just go back to the introduction and switch to the phone view. So here we have exactly the same course, but now in a phone layout. And I can move through it the same way that I do on a desktop. You can see I can use transitions, I can have text appearing, disappearing, elements. So it has the full power of the normal CourseBuilder solution. So we go to the reveal page, and again, as you can see, it looks very much the same. On the phone, it automatically has a scroll since all of the content won't fit on a normal page. And I can go to the scrollable page that we saw. On the phone, this would be scrollable anyway, because you can't fit all of the content beside each other. So we have the exercises, so let's try to answer them correctly. We have the feedback as we'd expect, and we have the last exercise that has an additional feedback element in that it has a container with text in it. And we have the quiz summary page. So everything that you created for your desktop works fully on the phone as well. But as you can see, when you notice the skin, it now has a full page menu. So that works differently. The skin adapts to the device. And we have the search functionality. Of course, will work, and you can see I can find and easily move to any content with a single click or tap. If you notice the skin on the phone, it's also a completely different layout. I now have the navigation buttons in the upper right corner, so it's very, very different. We can also have a look at the styling possibilities that CourseBuilder rates give you. And if you look at this page, if you look at the styling of this page, that looks very differently from the desktop version. So you can style elements completely different on the various devices. This can be set up in the skin and be automatic for your authors, so that these different styling options will be automatic whenever you create content. So let's quickly see how you work with creating pages in CourseBuilder. and I'll exit the viewer, and we'll create a simple page. You work exactly the same way that you're used to, adding a new page, opening the page editor, and we can add an image. Of course, you still work with the media library exactly the same way that you're used to work. So let's add an image. Let's add a text block, and I'll just grab some text that we can copy in. And I can make that a bit wider. And let's add another image. I want to have the Lumesse logo on the page. So I'll add that as well. So then we have the new layout functionalities that I was mentioning. You can now align content to various parts. In CourseBuilder 7.1, you placed everything on the page relative to the upper left corner. In CourseBuilder 8, you can lay out content relative to other parts of your page. So, for instance, I can say that this should be 5% from the left side. If I change that to right, it's now located 5% from the right. It's 64 pixels from the top. I can change that to be the same distance from the bottom. And even if the page changes, if I make this into a scrolling page, and I can easily do that by just dragging this down, you can see that the image, the Lumesse logo, is now automatically related to the lower part of the page. So there's a lot of new layout functionalities that you have available. I can just reset that. Go back to the regular page size. You can set the page size, page height directly from here. And we can have a look at how this page will look. So this is how it looks in your desktop version. Exactly as you would expect. And I can switch that to the phone version and see how it looks. You'll notice that the default is that the content automatically scales down to the smaller size of the phone screen, and I can now select one of two ways to work with the content. I can manually optimize this page by moving stuff around, having it appear exactly where I want it on the phone. If you do complex pages where you use sort of many layers and add and remove stuff over time, you may want to work with it manually to create the optimal learning experience. If you have a simple page like this, you can elect to just use auto layout. So I switch to the phone view in the editor, and as you can see, I can dynamically switch between the various versions, and I can enable auto layout for the phone. You get a warning saying that it will now relay out the entire page for the phone, and here you go. We have the finished version for the phone. Now, I can actually do adaptations to the phone version to optimize it, even when I use auto layout. So for instance, the Lumesse logo in this case, that is only for sort of decorative purposes in the course, and I can elect to say that's not going to be part of my content on the phone. Instead, I want to make the text a bit bigger. Say that's going to be 12. And I can even do stuff like in the phone version, I could remove some text and replace it with alternative text on the phone and optimize the content in that manner. So very, very simple. I now have two different versions of the course, one optimized for the desktop and one for the phone. So we can have a look at how the page looks. So we have the desktop version, and we have the phone version. So very, very simple to work with the different versions. And you can see the changed text is only visible on the phone version. When you work with responsive content with CourseBuilder 8, we recommend that you think about two versions only. You design the desktop version and the phone portrait version. Let CourseBuilder handle the tablet versions. CourseBuilder will automatically scale down the desktop version to make it fit beautifully on the tablet. You only want to add and work specifically with the design, with the layout, with the styles, with the skin for tablets if you have very, very, very specific needs. Otherwise, design the two far ends of the spectrum, design the desktop, work with the phone, and easily and quickly create responsive versions of your content. And that, in essence, was the end of the demonstration. I just want to give a little perspective on where we are going, what we are working on. Let me get this into full screen. And with CourseBuilder 8.1, over the next few months, we are going to be adding to the functionalities related to responsive/adaptive content. So what we are working intensively on now is to create adaptive components. So tasks and the hotspot collection will be transformed to be adaptive. Adaptive means that it will change behavior when it is displayed on a small screen. So you'll be able to have the component automatically transform itself to have a different behavior, for instance, on a phone in portrait mode. So that's the main effort of our current development focus. And we'll also add the ability to export to .exe or to have a standalone player that will allow you to play content on a LAN server from a hard disk, etc. So those are the two main areas of 8.1 that we are working on currently. So that was it from me, John.
Sven, I have a couple of questions for you. Thanks for that very interesting presentation. Questions pouring in now. This one from Joel Bjorkston. How do I control what is inherited to all the versions and what is adjusted for only the phone version?
Oh, Joel, now you're moving into a bit more complex territory. Everything is inherited automatically. So if you style something in your desktop version, it will automatically be inherited by the lower resolution versions. If you change, as for instance, a style property like color on your desktop version, you have then cut the inheritance. So if you change the color in the desktop version, it will no longer be inherited by that component in the phone version. You can, however, sort of force re-kickstart the inheritance by forcing, by applying from a higher resolution version and say apply this to all view modes. So you can control it completely. I hope that answered the question.
Joel's got a follow-on question there, but you added text to the mobile version. Mm-hmm. If you would have added text to the PC version, would it have been inherited?
It would have been inherited as long as I hadn't changed the text in the mobile version. So text works basically the same way when it comes to inheritance. If you create a text on the mobile version, that will automatically be in, on the desktop version, that text will automatically also be in the mobile version. You can do two things. You could hide the text on the mobile version, that does nothing to the text itself, or you can change the text in the mobile version. Once you change it, you've cut the inheritance, and if you change that text on the desktop, that will no longer be automatically inherited. Then you have to force apply to all view modes.
Lovely. I think yep. Joel's satisfied with that one here. He says, "Oh, thanks, great."
That's good.
Another question: is it correct that you have the desktop and phone version in one course?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I thought so too. Yeah.
You create your course, and you design your desktop version. You work with your mobile version, and you can vary how you work. Some pages you may want to edit manually if they are complex, or you want to simplify them. But if you create simple pages using auto layout, it's quite a fast job. And once you're done, you publish that. And even though you've only sort of created and worked with the desktop and the mobile version, CourseBuilder will automatically handle scaling. So if you started on your iPad, it will behave like you expect it to on the iPad or on an Android tablet. That's handled automatically by CourseBuilder. In essence, we scale down the desktop version.
Okay, thanks. We have to move along now, but just time for one other quick question, I think. It says search functionality only applies to the display of the text, ? This is from Helder Denominato.
You'll find any text using the new search functionality. CourseBuilder will find the search string. It will search for it in any text inside the course. Inside tasks, inside components. It will even find it for page titles, folder titles, etc. I'm not 100% certain if that answers the question. Hopefully it does.
I hope so, Helder. Hold on. But not image names, right?
Oh, that's a good question. It may do. I need to check that.
Okay, thanks. There is a further question come in, but I think we'll save that to the end if you don't mind for the
no
for
problem.
the next. We're sort of running into problems with time. So thanks a lot for that, Sven. I'd like now to introduce Carol Boer, who is responsible for driving capability within our bespoke studio learning design team at Lumesse. She's basically our learning design guru. And she's going to tell you a bit more about how to use the tool in a design sense. But before we hear from Carol, I'd like to swiftly drop in a quick poll, if I may. So the poll to vote on here, and you can vote on by clicking on it, is which of the following digital learning solutions would you like to create in CourseBuilder 8? And you can select more than one. E-learning courses, gamified learning, a lot of talk about gamification nowadays, animated explainers, branching scenarios, or other. And if it is something, a significant other, please specify that in the chat window, and we'll deal with that qualitatively. But if you can please vote now. Okay, 38, 42% film saver voting. Yeah, lovely to see that. Okay, now I'm going to close the poll pretty soon. Any more for any more? No, the numbers stop moving. So I'm going to close the poll and share the results. So there we've got 90% using it for e-learning courses, not really unexpected there. Quite a high percentage for gamified learning. But rather than me do my pat analysis over this, I'm going to hand over to Carol now and say, Carol, how do you react to that poll?
Yeah, thanks, John. I'm actually surprised the high percentage of e-learning courses, given all the reports and trends that we're all seeing at the moment around the need to create more games and more video-based learning. But I guess e-learning courses probably does encompass a lot of those techniques too. I think we can identify, certainly with those trends, our content studio is seeing these sort of trends coming in all the time. So one thing we're finding is we really have to vary the learning solutions now that we're producing for our clients. So what I wanted to do really was just talk about some of the things that we're doing and some of the things that we're getting excited about. So if John shares my presentation, I'll start with talking about some of the things that our team are really excited about. So if you look back at CourseBuilder 7 up to CourseBuilder 8, I asked them to just reflect on what it is that's getting them excited right now. And one of the first things that they came up with is the fact that there's now a lot more possibilities when it comes to using variables for things like branching. So that means that in simple terms, if you make a certain selection, that information is stored away, and that information is then used to branch you to a specific page or content. And that gives us a lot of possibilities. And it means that it gives us a lot of possibilities for dynamic content. So depending on what a user's input, they can actually see information that's just relevant to them and their input. And because we're able to create more dynamic content, that means that we can get greater personalization in our content. And we all know the importance of personalization in the learning experience. Another thing that has really excited our learning designers is the ability to design different layouts. And I think, Sven touched on it there with the scrolling possibilities, and that for us means that it's really good now that we can start to think almost beyond the page templates and the click next learning. And when you combine all of that, and you think about now the ability to add your own interactions, suddenly you really have almost a blank canvas, and that's always very exciting for learning designers. They talked also about the fact that now we've got the minimal page loading, that we're able to create these seamless experiences. And if you add some nice transitions to the above, we're now able to create explainers within course builders. Now, explainers are short animated sequences, so there's a big appetite for those at the moment. Historically, we've had to use other packages to create those, but now we're able to create them in CourseBuilder. I've got a short example to show you if we have enough time today. And last but not least, the ability to respond to the changing mobility of the workforce. So everybody's talking about, everyone's not talking about mobile learning actually anymore. Everyone's talking about multi-device learning. Mobile learning is not so much a thing anymore. It's now just expected that learning will work multi-device and be consumed on multiple devices. So what I want to do is just reflect on, some of those trends and possibilities that we're seeing. And let's start with gamification. So we're doing a lot of gamification at the moment. I know it's been around for a while, but suddenly people are really, really trying to drive engagement in their learning programs. So, a lot of e-learning programs are now being gamified. And we have a model that we use for gamification in Lumesse. We call it the Starfish model because it's actually an acronym, and it's an acronym for the different elements that you would typically expect to see in a gamified learning solution. So it would include the S, which is the story or the challenge, so your task is to do something. And then the tokens and awards, so you get awards throughout, you get tokens and badges for completing challenges. and then the rules of play, so you know really clearly what you're expected to do, what happens if you do something well, and what penalty you'll get if you don't do something so well. And then the scoring and the feedback. So we've got great possibilities now, storing scores away and then using those scores, which is really exciting for gamification. And we've also worked out that the graphical interface, the eye, is really important when it comes to designing games now. And then all of these things together, when you combine them together, you then need to be thinking about the hook. What is it that I'm going to use to get people to want to keep repeating the gameplay, go through this again? And it might just be simply that the number of attempts are limited and people want to improve their score. But if it's designed in such a way, then you create that hook. So I then sort of reflected on, some of the earlier gamification programs that have been created, and I thought, well, actually, you know what? We can be creating these now in CourseBuilder. We can do scoring, we can do token collecting. Certainly, the interface, we have a lot more possibilities now with layout, and we can actually use that scoring to dictate things like what happens in that game, whether someone's passed or failed, or whether we want to set numbers of attempts. The next thing that everybody's getting a bit excited about is explainers, and that was in our poll earlier, but the guys yesterday when I was talking to them said, actually, we're really excited about creating interactive explainers. So I asked them to share with me an example, and it is a very rough prototype mock-up that they've been using just to sort of try out the concept. But the idea here is that I'm asked to enter some information, and I'll do that now. I'll put in Sven's name, put in John's last name. Okay, and what happens now is that we hear a lot of music. I haven't got that playing at the moment as it would be quite distracting. I select this area here. And what happens now is that I'm now receiving a bit of kinetic typography, delivering a message to me. And, in a minute, we're going to get a little bit of personalization coming through. It's a simple example, but you get the concept. It now gives you that opportunity, because it's stored some information away, to personalize explainers. So it's much better with the music, actually.
I could hum.
There's Sven's name. That person is you. And then that continues using the text that I entered earlier. Okay, I won't take you through all of that. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is interactive branching video. So earlier we talked, I talked about the seamlessness now of the transitions, and the guys again have been experimenting now with some interactive branching video. So just using simple things like hotspot videos, you can now see the immediate consequence of an action. So you click on a specific area, and this is the example they've been mocking up. You can then branch immediately to the next scene. And that's made a huge difference. We've been creating some really, really nice examples that we're getting quite excited about. And also, I talked about the immediate branching there, but also you can store away responses, and then later on, maybe in an interactive video sequence, actually show something, a consequence later on in the scenario. Because, as someone pointed out to me yesterday, you don't always see the immediate consequence from a choice you've made. It might be something that happens later down the line. And the final thing that we're very excited about, of course, is multi-device learning. We have been designing mobile actually for a while now, and I talk about mobile there in isolation, but now I'm going to be talking about multi-device learning, responsive learning. So we've now got this benefit of multi-device mobile responsive learning. And that doesn't actually really present any real challenges for the learning designer. It's just a slightly different mindset. So we need to be considering, of course, all the likely devices that will be used to consume the learning in. And our role, of course, is to provide the best experience. So our take is that we design the optimum experience for the most common device used. That might be mobile, actually. In some cases, mobile might be the preferred delivery platform. But the idea is to ensure it works on all devices. So we start with the optimum device. We design for the two extremes, and Sven was talking about that earlier, that you might design with desktop and mobile in mind, and it's the middle bit that takes care of itself, i.e. the tablet. It sorts itself out, it resizes. And also what we have to bear in mind too is the mobile first principles. So things like minimal text and standard instructions that work across platforms, and just really thinking very carefully about the images that we use and how they were laid out. And I think somebody was asking earlier in the question panel whether or not the text is inherited across from desktop to mobile, and I think the closer you can get to that one course principle, obviously the better from a maintenance point of view and from an experience point of view. And this is I haven't got anything to show you, unfortunately. We're just currently working on this example here. So this is a piece of art direction that we're working on for a mobile responsive course. Just finally, in case there's sort of, I guess any doubt around the efficacy of mobile learning and whether it's relevant, we've just been recently looking at the fast facts from the Learning and Performance on the Move report that Towards Maturity have just produced. And if anything, the consumer appetite for mobile learning or multi-device learning is going up. And it's going up not because they just particularly have a device preference, they just have a preference to be enabled wherever they are, whenever they need it. And that's really what is driving this appetite for multi-device learning.
Lovely. Carol, everybody please send in your questions for Carol now, and we'll have a final wrap-up Q&A session. I've just got a question for you. Could you, sorry, put you on the spot here, could you reflect a little bit on, now that we have this ability to publish to all mobile platforms as well as desktops, and that's very obviously a difference in the way that learning is consumed, how is that shaping and changing the way that we actually think of designing learning? Because one of the things about this product is it's called CourseBuilder 8, but as we know, from what you've said, it really takes us beyond the course.
Yeah, I think you're right, John, and I think that there's a lot of talk at the moment about things like micro-learning, nano-learning, and I think that's been around, again, for a long time, but the idea is that people consume learning in very small chunks now. When they need it, they're time poor, they don't have hours to sit down and consume long programs. They will be doing it on the move, they'll be doing it maybe in a break, in 5 minutes of time that they need it before they actually need to apply something. So performance support is key too. So I guess we just need to really cater for all of those possibilities and not put any barriers in the way.
Okay, thank you very much. If anybody has any further questions for Carol, please send them in. There is a question that came in for Sven earlier that perhaps we could deal with now from Peter Schörner. If you're on the line, Sven?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Lovely. I'm very glad about that. Peter was asking, will it be possible to publish a course as an app? He means to run it online on a tablet.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we are looking into for future improvements to CourseBuilder, the ability to publish to app, and we've already done some tech demos around that, but it's in our backlog at the moment, and it's not in the current focus, but it's definitely something we will add over time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We won't go on any longer because we had advertised 40 minutes for the session, and we've gone a little bit further just because I think there's a lot of stuff to say. If you'd like to follow this up further with us, by all means, use the email address you can see up there on the screen, learning@lumesse.com. I know it's a generic email, but it is very carefully scrutinized, and we will definitely get back to you if you use that. Thank you for joining the session today and for giving us some very interesting, stimulating questions as well. Remember to follow us on Twitter, Lumesse_learn, and on LinkedIn as well, where you can look at our showcase page, Lumesse Learning. And if any of the issues that we've been talking about today have affected you personally, as they say on the radio, please use that response email to get in touch with us. And if you'd like a discussion about your learning needs, we're always very pleased to hear from you. So thank you very much for that today, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. But for now, goodbye.